Hello. I gotta say, happy Pride Month. I feel absolutely honored to have the opportunity to stand here in front of this audience and welcome you to the second annual Connecting Curious Minds. Now, this day would not be possible without the hard work and commitment from the Vanessa team, all of our amazing sponsors, all of our attendees, and also our volunteers who blew up 650 balloons. Let's give it up for everyone in this room. You ready to hear my story? Yes. My name is Vanessa. I am the Marketing and Events Director at Vanessa CPA Corp. Vanessa CPA is the company behind the message delivered at this very conference. I am also the founder of Connecting Curious Minds. But aside from those titles, and more importantly to me, I am a woman. How about a round of applause for all the women in the room? I am a young woman. I am a minority woman. Every single person in this room here today, your voice matters to me. But because my voice matters to me. You matter, I matter, we all matter. However, without emotional safety, being my heart and my soul, and without physical safety, being my mind and my body, I actually am not able to hold my own voice accountable. And when I'm not able to hold my voice accountable, I end up silencing the voices of others around me. So my courage, it used to foster my resilience. However, my courage, when it came to my curiosity, I was afraid of curiosity because curiosity meant uncertainty, and between you and I, uncertainty meant fear. Who I saw thriving in this world taught me of my own capabilities. And this is what I was taught in my childhood. That women were not on this planet to thrive. They were here to survive, and they were here for only three things: to rescue, to be rescued, and to suffer. Now, this meant a few different things to my identity as a woman. It meant that my emotions were to never be talked about, that what society and what my family perceives about me is more important than the truth of who I actually am. And that this is the reality that I'm going to have to survive in. So when I was 6 years old, I started getting told that girls don't raise their voice, girls don't speak up, girls don't talk back. And then I'm 8 years old, and I'm told that girls shouldn't have short hair because it wouldn't make me look woman enough. And then I'm 10 years old, and I'm starting to experience all of these emotions: frustration and fear and anger and sadness. But I'm told to shove those to the side, and I'm told to fix my face. I was actually taught that I didn't exist before I even had the opportunity to learn how to love myself. So rather than becoming curious about the strength in my femininity and the fierceness in my voice, I actually ran away from it. And this lack of self-worth, it manifested into the silencing of my own voice. Being a woman, to me, meant that I was of lesser value. So naturally in high school, I found a relationship that did not honor my physical or emotional safety. It was massively abusive. However, I didn't talk about it because I didn't think I had a choice. But I fell in love with acting. So acting kind of became this catalyst for me. I was able to embody another character and express how I was actually feeling, but through a character. And I would choose the most dramatic of monologues. You want to hear one line of a monologue? Okay, so imagine this. I am in my grade 10 class, and this is theater. 15-year-olds are not nice. And I'm standing here, and I go, so you're saying that I could stand here and I could end my life, and even then you wouldn't notice what's going on with me? Yeah, they were looking at me like that. And like that. But little did they know, and little did I know, I was just trying to tell the truth of who I was. So I believed that acting was my calling. What did I do? I moved to LA when I was 19 years old, right after high school. And I decided I'm going to become an actress. So here I am. I'm driving down the coast in my 2000 Oldsmobile Alero. I'm indulging in nightlife, day pool parties, pretending to like hiking. No. And I felt like a damn independent woman. Wouldn't you agree? Well, it wasn't long before a situation mirrored to me what I had chosen for my life. So I do have a trigger warning in the next segment of my presentation. Just want to let everyone know. The first month living in LA, I met this boy. And he was different from my ex, so I was like, okay, this is gonna work. But one night, I decided to spend the night at his house, and he had his friends over, we were having a good time. I decided that I wanted to crash. I was super tired, so that's what I did. And you know those moments when you're in and out of haziness, kind of like half awake and half asleep? Well, that was me. But there was this one moment of consciousness that completely changed my life. I woke up to the weight of something on my body, and I couldn't figure it out at first. But then I realized that it was the weight of his friend attempting to undress me. Now, in this moment, my heart, it stopped and it was beating out of my chest at the very same time. But I did the only thing that I knew how to do. I sprung up and I ran out of there as fast as I could. I left the house, and the guy that I was dating, he went to find me. And he didn't come to console me. He said, Vanessa, you are being too dramatic. I was just telling my friend to have some fun with you. He just told me that he gave another person permission to my body. I walked away after this, and I remember I locked myself in my car for what must have been about 2 hours. I felt super small, like I didn't know where to go from here. But then it hit me. The same moment that I felt the weight of someone invading my body was ironically the first time I had felt the weight of my own body, that I had had compassion for it. I wanted to protect it. I wanted to love it. So I put my keys in the ignition and I told myself, I am not going to put myself in a situation in that environment ever again. I realized that yes, I am someone who wants change. But at the same time, I was also the person whose actions pushed away change. I realized that my existence as a woman had become so minimized by my beliefs that my lack of self-worth completely manifested into the silencing of my voice. I needed to make it a vow that I was going to stay on this side, no matter how uncertain, no matter how scary it would be. So I made a move back to Victoria, BC, which is where I initially ran away from, by the way. And I decided that I need to change things. So my first step number one, was to learn to embrace the person that I had always wanted to be. So what I did was I moved to Vancouver when I was 21. And I was so determined to get a job in the corporate world without any schooling. But I did. And my first job in the corporate world was an absolute reflection of how much I still believed in myself. You know, when you begin to embrace who you are, there is going to be someone who comes to you and tries to knock that courage right out of your field. Every single day at work, I was told that I was incompetent, that my ideas were not of value, that when I stepped into the office, my personal life did not matter. Well, a miracle happened. 3 months later, I got laid off. Now, I say that with quotations because I know that they didn't like me. I am expressive, I am opinionated, I am colorful and creative and bubbly, and they hated that in me. But fortunately enough for me, I began to embrace it. So with this, I was able to take my second step, which was taking action for the person that I wanted to become. I started going to school at BCIT, and I was studying marketing and entrepreneurship. I actually became passionate about both of these things, and I thought to myself, how can I create a platform that's going to connect communities, encourage creativity, and empower voices? I imagined an environment that would nurture the strengths and creativities of individuals. So one day after a presentation, this woman came up to me and she said, Vanessa CPA has a job opening and you would be a perfect fit for the culture there. I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was that I was different and I needed a change. So I took the jump, I accepted the position. And here is why I knew that it was the place that was going to nurture my emotional and physical safety. 2 months into working at Vanessa CPA, I was working with a couple of consultants. And I was new in my career, young, inexperienced, unknowledgeable. That's what they believed about me anyway. And they were condescending with me. They didn't want to invite my ideas into conversation or invite my feedback. And it felt really awful. I felt like I was going backwards, and I'm like, maybe the corporate world is just not for me. But rather than thinking that life was happening to me and not for me, I made a step to take accountability. So the third step, I took accountability for what I wanted and how I felt. I talked to my team the next day, and I expressed to them what was going on between myself and the consultants. Now, this is really important because they made it an effort to make sure that I knew I mattered. The next day, they fired the consultants. There was this bubble of fear covering my entire soul, and in this moment, it literally just burst. And I was like, wow, I am in an environment that can really cultivate my curiosity and my creativity now. What am I going to do with that? Remember when I said that I was going to create a platform that would connect communities, encourage creativity, and empower voices? Well, I did just that. On January 25th, 2018, we had the first Connecting Curious Minds. So here's the truth about something. This is not the second. This is the third Connecting Curious Minds. So on this day, I'm so excited. This is our first team event. We are ready to network. And I am hyping my team up. And we're ready for this. I was like, yes, I created a platform that's going to connect communities, encourage creativity, and empower voices. And not a single person showed up. That was a really big fall for me. I felt that I had failed every single person around me. I literally felt like that. And the thing with an environment that really values curiosity and creativity is that they understand that failure is an important ingredient in success. So my team gave me the space to go back to the drawing board. I reworked the vision. And on July 6, 2018, 6 months later, my team and I are standing in a 4,000 square foot venue with 150 attendees, 14 corporate sponsors, and 7 keynote speakers. It felt amazing. What I didn't know before starting at Janessa Corp was that the key to me feeling emotionally and physically safe, the key to me stepping into my potential as a leader, was that my fourth step was not that, is vulnerability. Now, vulnerability is extremely difficult for me because in my conditioning, I'm taught that the truth of who you are, that your emotions will bring shame to you and everyone around you. It was actually only last week that I called up my mentor, Azukar, and I said, Azukar, the conference is next week. I don't know if I want to share certain parts of my story at this conference. And he goes, as long as you're being true to who you are. That was the conversation. But the very next day after that conversation, I met with someone for the first time. This woman that I had never seen before in my life. She walks into our office, and we end up talking for almost 2 hours. And she told me that the only reason that she had opened up to me was because I was vulnerable with her. Remember when I said that who we see thriving in this world teaches us of our own capabilities? When I began to become vulnerable, I actually started to see myself in everyone around me. And they would tell me that they saw themselves in me too. The woman that I always dreamt of being was right here, but I thought that this whole fight in becoming me was actually a fight against me. However, it's actually a fight for me. So imagine this. I am a woman, I am a young woman, I am a minority woman. These are not the traits that make me weak or insignificant. They are my strengths. And vulnerability was not just a way of me approaching one specific situation. I knew that it was a way that I had to approach everything in my life. I need, you need, we all need to find the courage to question our fundamental beliefs. Because yes, it is the businesses that make up this community. But more important than that, it's also our stories that make up this community. It's the humans behind the businesses. And if your courage can foster your resilience, imagine if it's what fostered your curiosity, because it was behind that curiosity that I was able to allow myself to be vulnerable and really celebrate the truth of who I am. Our stories are not meant to be hidden or shamed or buried. They are meant to be celebrated. Thank you.